This happened in October of 2022. At the time, I worked for a financial services company in downtown Denver. The job itself wasn't bad. The hours were. During busy periods, staying late became normal. 10-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts, sometimes longer. Our office occupied several floors inside a high-rise building connected to a multi-level parking garage. The garage had 8 floors above ground and 2 underground levels. Most employees parked between levels 4 and 7 because those floors were reserved for tenants. Visitors generally stayed lower. I'd parked on level 5 that morning. Nothing unusual, nothing memorable, just another workday. By the time I finally left the office, it was 11:43 p.m. The building felt completely different at that hour. The hallways were quiet. Most office lights were off. The elevators felt strangely empty. When I stepped into the garage, the silence immediately stood out. No conversations, no engines, no footsteps, just the distant hum of ventilation fans. I remember checking my phone while walking toward my vehicle. A silver Honda Accord, the same car I'd driven for years. My vehicle sat near the middle of the level, several rows away from the elevator. The nearest parked vehicle was probably 20 spaces away. The entire floor looked deserted. Honestly, it felt reassuring. After a long shift, I just wanted peace and quiet. I unlocked the car, got inside, started the engine, then began scrolling through messages before leaving. A habit I probably shouldn't have. Several minutes passed. Then I noticed headlights. A vehicle had entered the level. At first, I barely paid attention. People worked late. Nothing unusual. The vehicle slowly drove down the main lane. A black sedan, older model, dark tinted windows. Nothing particularly remarkable. Still, something immediately felt strange, because the sedan drove past dozens of available spaces. Then dozens more. The level was practically empty. Yet instead of parking near the elevator, or near the exit, or anywhere convenient, the driver chose a space directly across from mine. My stomach tightened slightly. Not fear, just discomfort. The behavior felt odd. The sedan parked. The engine remained running. Headlights remained on. Nobody got out. Nobody moved. For several seconds, I simply watched, waiting. Nothing happened. The vehicle just sat there. Eventually, I looked away, trying to convince myself I was overthinking things. People sit in their cars all the time, checking messages, making phone calls, eating, whatever. Normal behavior. At least that's what I told myself. 5 minutes passed. The sedan remained exactly where it was. Engine running. Lights on. No visible movement. The longer I looked at it, the stranger it felt, because most people eventually exit their vehicle, or leave, or do something. This driver did nothing. Just sat there, watching. At least that's what it felt like. Finally, I decided to leave. I shifted into reverse, backed out, and headed toward the exit ramp. The moment my vehicle started moving, the sedan started moving too. My stomach dropped, immediately, because the timing wasn't subtle, not even slightly. I left my space. The sedan left its space. At exactly the same moment. For several seconds I stared into my rearview mirror. The black sedan followed behind me, maintaining distance. Not speeding, not aggressively, just following. I tried to stay rational. Maybe we were both leaving. Simple explanation. Most likely explanation. Still, something felt wrong. Instead of heading toward the garage exit, I made a spontaneous decision. I drove up the ramp to level 6. No reason. Just a test. The sedan followed. My heart immediately started beating faster. Because there was no reason for another driver to do that. None. If they were leaving, they'd continue toward the exit. Instead, they followed me upward. Level 6 was even emptier than level 5. Maybe 10 vehicles total. I drove slowly through several rows. The sedan remained behind me. Same distance. Same pace. Never passing. Never turning away. Just following. At that point, I knew. Absolutely knew. Something wasn't right. I grabbed my phone, prepared to call security, then hesitated, because a part of me still felt ridiculous. Maybe there was some innocent explanation. Maybe. Then I made another turn. A completely unnecessary turn. The sedan made it too. Same timing. Same direction. My heart was pounding now. No more doubt. No more uncertainty. The vehicle was following me. The question was why. I immediately headed toward level 2. The security office was located there. I knew exactly where it was. If the driver was simply another employee, nothing would happen. If not, I wanted security nearby. The descent felt endless. Level 6, Level 5, Level 4, Level 3. The sedan remained behind me the entire time, never getting closer, never falling back, just staying there, watching, waiting. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly they started hurting. I remember checking the mirrors constantly, trying to see the driver. The tinted windows made it impossible. I couldn't see anything. No face, no movement, nothing. Finally, Level 2 appeared. The security office sat near the center of the floor, brightly lit, clearly visible. I drove directly toward it. The moment the sedan rounded the corner and saw where I was heading, everything changed. The vehicle immediately slowed, then stopped, completely stopped. For several seconds it remained motionless, then reversed, fast, very fast, and disappeared back up the ramp. The reaction instantly confirmed everything, because if the driver had innocent intentions, they would have continued. They wouldn't have fled the moment security became visible. I parked directly outside the office. My entire body felt tense. Adrenaline, fear, relief, all at once. Security officers took the situation seriously, much more seriously than I expected. They immediately reviewed cameras, and what they discovered made my stomach turn, because the footage showed the black sedan entering the garage at 11:21 p.m. 22 minutes before I reached my vehicle. The driver entered, skipped every available parking level, and drove directly to Level 5, my level, then parked, and waited. Didn't leave the vehicle, didn't walk anywhere, didn't visit the office building, just waited. The footage showed the sedan sitting there for over 20 minutes before I arrived, watching the area, waiting for someone, maybe me, maybe somebody else. I'll never know. Security contacted local police. The vehicle's license plate was visible on camera. Unfortunately, it came back stolen. The car itself had likely been using fraudulent plates. Authorities never identified the driver, at least not as far as I know. The story should have ended there, but one detail still bothers me years later, because before I left that night, one security officer showed me something. A report. Several months earlier, another employee had filed a complaint involving a black sedan. Same description. Same parking garage, same behavior. The vehicle parked near an employee late at night, then followed them through multiple levels. The driver fled when security became involved. No identification, no arrest, nothing. To this day, I don't know what that driver's intentions were. Maybe robbery, maybe stalking, maybe something worse. All I know is this: if I had driven directly home that night instead of testing whether I was being followed, there's a very good chance that black sedan would have followed me out of the garage. And whatever happened after that would have happened somewhere security cameras couldn't see. This happened in the spring of 2021. At the time, I worked security for a large hospital in Chicago. Part of my responsibilities involved checking a 7-story employee parking garage connected to the main medical campus. The garage operated 24 hours a day. Doctors came and went. Nurses worked overnight shifts. Ambulance crews used certain sections. The building never truly slept. Still, between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., the garage became incredibly quiet. Those hours felt different. The elevators moved less. The traffic disappeared. Most levels sat nearly empty. That's when the noises started. The first incident happened around 2:40 a.m. I was performing a routine patrol, walking Level 4, checking emergency exits, checking stairwells, normal stuff. As I approached the northeast stairwell, I heard footsteps. Slow footsteps, heavy footsteps, coming from above. My first thought was simple. Another employee, maybe a doctor heading to their car, maybe maintenance. Nothing unusual. The footsteps continued. Steady, measured, almost unhurried. I entered the stairwell, expecting to see someone. Nothing. The stairs were empty. Completely empty. The footsteps stopped immediately. For several seconds I stood listening. Silence. Then I returned to patrol. No big deal. At least initially. The next night, it happened again. Same stairwell. Same time. Same footsteps. This time I moved faster. Immediately entering the stairwell. Again, nothing. No employee. No movement. No sound. The entire stairwell sat empty. The experience felt strange, but not frightening. Yet, several nights later, the situation escalated. Around 3 a.m., I heard the footsteps once more. Only this time they continued. Level 5. Level 6. Level 7. Always one level above me. No matter how quickly I climbed, the person remained ahead. My heart started racing. Because the timing felt impossible. I moved faster. The footsteps moved faster. I stopped. The footsteps stopped. The realization immediately unsettled me. Because it felt deliberate. Like someone knew exactly where I was. Like someone was responding to my movements. Eventually I radioed another officer. Together we searched the stairwell. Nothing. No person. No sign anyone had been there. The mystery should have ended there. Instead, other officers started reporting similar experiences. Footsteps. Movement. Brief sightings. Always near the northeast stairwell. Always during overnight hours. Always gone before anyone arrived. The reports became frequent enough that management reviewed security footage. And finally, something appeared. A figure. Just for a moment. A dark silhouette moving through level 6. The image lasted only seconds. Then vanished behind a support column. Security immediately checked additional cameras. Nothing. No person exiting. No person entering. No explanation. The footage created more questions than answers. Then one night, I saw the figure myself. Around 2:50 a.m. I was walking level 5. The garage sat completely silent. Then movement caught my eye. A person standing at the far end of the level. Motionless. Watching. The sight immediately made my stomach tighten. Because the person wasn't near a vehicle. Wasn't walking. Wasn't doing anything. Just standing there. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Then the figure stepped behind a concrete pillar. I immediately headed toward it. Fast. Very fast. When I reached the pillar, nobody was there. No footsteps. No running. Nothing. The entire section remained empty. The encounter genuinely rattled me. Because there weren't many places to hide. Not enough to disappear that quickly. The following week, security launched a larger investigation. Additional cameras. Additional patrols. Everything. Then a maintenance worker made an important discovery. Behind a locked utility door near level 6 sat an older maintenance corridor. A corridor no longer shown on most building maps. The passage connected several portions of the garage, including access points near multiple stairwells. My stomach dropped immediately, because suddenly everything made sense. The footsteps, the sightings, the disappearances. Someone could move through the hidden corridor system without being seen. The discovery led to a full inspection. And inside, investigators found evidence. Food wrappers, water bottles, blankets, flashlights, signs of long-term occupancy. Someone had clearly been spending time there. Not briefly, regularly, possibly for months. The realization disturbed everyone. Because while hospital staff worked overnight shifts, someone had apparently been moving through hidden sections of the garage. Watching, listening, learning routines, learning patrol schedules. Authorities eventually identified a former contractor familiar with older infrastructure connected to the hospital campus. Someone who understood maintenance routes most employees didn't know existed. Someone who knew how to avoid cameras. Unfortunately, he disappeared before police located him. The hidden corridors were sealed, security upgraded, and the incident stopped, at least officially. But one detail still bothers me, because among the belongings recovered from the corridor system was a notebook. Inside were observations, patrol routes, shift schedules, vehicle descriptions, pages of notes, including entries about me. One page described my habit of checking the northeast stairwell first during overnight rounds. Then beneath the entry appeared a sentence written weeks before I first heard the footsteps. The sentence read, "He always looks up." That line still gives me chills, because while I thought I was investigating mysterious noises in an empty parking garage, someone hidden inside the structure had apparently been studying me the entire time, watching me climb those stairs, watching me search those levels, watching me wonder who was walking above me, and somehow, always staying exactly one floor ahead. At the time, I worked for a software company in Seattle. Our office occupied several floors inside a downtown office tower connected to a large multi-level parking structure. Most employees worked remotely. As a result, the building often felt empty, especially at night. During busy project deadlines, I occasionally stayed late. Very late. The night this happened, I left the office shortly after 1 a.m. The building was practically deserted. The elevator ride down felt unusually quiet. No conversations, no movement, nothing. I entered the parking garage through a secured employee entrance. My car sat on level 6, near the western corner, far from the elevator lobby. As I stepped into the garage, I immediately noticed how empty it felt. Only a handful of vehicles remained. Most levels looked abandoned. The atmosphere wasn't frightening, just lonely, at least initially. I walked to my car, placed my laptop bag inside, then realized I had forgotten my access badge upstairs. Annoying. The badge sat on my desk. Without it, getting into the office the next morning would be a headache. So I locked the car and returned to the elevator. The ride up seemed normal. I retrieved the badge, returned to the elevator, and started heading back down. That's when things became strange. The elevator stopped unexpectedly. Level 4. The doors opened. Nobody entered. Nobody stood outside. The lobby appeared empty. Several seconds passed. The doors closed. The elevator continued. Minor inconvenience. Nothing more. Then it happened again. Level 3. Doors opened. Empty. Nobody. Again, several seconds passed. Then the doors closed. The behavior felt unusual, but not alarming. Elevators malfunction. It happens. Then the elevator stopped a third time, and that's when my stomach tightened, because the display showed Level 8. I stared at the panel, confused, then looked again. Level 8. The number remained illuminated. My heart immediately started racing, because the garage only had 7 levels. I knew that. Everyone knew that. The doors slowly opened. The space beyond looked dark. Extremely dark. Not completely black. Just poorly lit, like a floor where most lights had been turned off. For several seconds I simply stared, trying to understand what I was seeing. Then I noticed somebody standing outside, motionless, far down the corridor, watching the elevator. My blood immediately ran cold, because the person wasn't moving, wasn't approaching, just standing there. The distance made details impossible to see. Only a silhouette, a dark figure, watching. The doors remained open. 5 seconds, 10 seconds. The figure never moved. Finally the doors closed. The elevator continued descending. My heart pounded the entire way down. When I reached level 6, I immediately exited. Then stopped, because something felt wrong. Very wrong. The garage seemed quieter than before, almost unnaturally quiet. I headed toward my car. Halfway there, I heard footsteps. Slow footsteps. Behind me, my stomach dropped immediately, because the sound echoed clearly through the concrete structure. I turned around. Nothing. The lane remained empty. No person. No movement. Yet I knew I'd heard footsteps. Clearly. I reached my car, unlocked it, then glanced toward the elevator lobby, and froze, because someone stood there. The same silhouette, motionless, watching. My entire body went cold. The person stood too far away for identification, but close enough to confirm one thing. It was the same figure I'd seen on level 8. No doubt. The realization made no sense. Absolutely none. Because the elevator ride down had taken less than a minute. Nobody could have reached level 6 that quickly. Not from a non-existent floor. Still, there they were, standing near the elevators, watching. I immediately got into my car, locked the doors, started the engine. The figure remained motionless for several seconds, then slowly began walking toward me. My heart exploded into overdrive. I shifted into reverse immediately, backed out, and headed toward the exit. The figure continued walking, never running, never speeding up, just walking, deliberately, purposefully. The sight terrified me far more than running would have, because it felt controlled, confident, like they weren't worried about being seen. I exited the garage, then pulled into a nearby gas station, immediately calling building security. The response surprised me, because security sounded concerned the moment I mentioned level 8. Very concerned. The officer asked several specific questions, then requested I remain where I was. Several officers searched the garage. The figure was gone by the time they arrived. Of course, but the story didn't end there. The following day, I met with building management. That's when I learned something interesting. Years earlier, before renovations, the structure contained an unfinished mechanical level above level 7. Internally, workers referred to it as level 8. The area wasn't intended for public access. Most elevators weren't supposed to stop there anymore. In fact, according to management, the access option had supposedly been removed years ago. My stomach tightened immediately, because I'd definitely seen it. The investigation uncovered something disturbing. Someone had recently gained access to portions of the abandoned mechanical level. Signs of occupation existed. Food wrappers, water bottles, blankets, flashlights. Evidence somebody had been spending time there. Not briefly, repeatedly. The discovery triggered a security review, and eventually investigators located additional evidence, including notebooks. Several notebooks, filled with observations, vehicle descriptions, employee schedules, arrival times, departure times, pages of information, including details about office workers, including me. One entry described the exact parking space I normally used. Another listed the days I typically worked late. The realization made me physically uncomfortable, because while I thought I was working alone after hours, someone had apparently been watching from parts of the structure most people didn't even know existed. The abandoned level was permanently secured afterward. Additional cameras installed. Access systems upgraded. The official explanation suggested a trespasser using forgotten maintenance areas. Maybe that's true. Maybe. But one detail still bothers me, because investigators showed me a page recovered from one of the notebooks. The entry was dated 3 weeks before my encounter. 3 weeks. And beside my name appeared a single sentence. A sentence that still makes my stomach turn. It said, "Uses elevator when tired," meaning whoever stood on that abandoned level wasn't surprised to see me that night. They weren't waiting randomly. They already knew I would be there. They already knew how I moved through the building. They already knew which elevator I'd use. And when those doors opened on level 8, I wasn't discovering them. They were waiting for me.